اللهم يا من على العرش استوى يا من خلق فسوى وقدر فهدى وأعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى يا من أضحك وأبكى وأمات وأحيا وأسعد وأشقى.
You are listening to Huda recordings.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وبعد, we reach to the last point in the introduction. We're still in the introductions. The last point in the introductions is why these sects, why these innovations appeared, start. Some of them is very clear, it's wrong. But what the reasons behind these reasons, what the reasons behind these sects to appear in the Muslims' world or to be adopted by some people who are Muslims. المقدمة الرابعة في أسباب ظهور الفرق. The first reason behind these sects or these ideas to be adopted or to be invented, الخلل في منهج التلقي. الخلل في منهج التلقي. Because their sources were not the right source of Islam. They based on wrong source of Islam. They got their informations in the wrong source. The way they prove these things or the way they practicing the religion was not based on the right sources. The way they practiced the religion was not based on the right or authentic sources. All the innovators, all these sects, regardless how bad it is, how far it is from Islam, or how close it is from Sunnah, they are all جميعهم وردوا عين واحدة مرة كالحة. They all share one problem, that they seek their knowledge from other sources than Al-Kitab and the Sunnah. Al-Quran and the Sunnah, Quran, Sunnah, and then the Salaf al-Salih radiyallahu anhu. They have their other sources, such as they said one of their main sources is the logic. Logic in Islam has been recognized. In Sunnah, we don't say you cancel your mind or say Sharia, it is contradict with logic at all. No, that's not right. But in Islam we said also that the logic has to be based on Al-Quran wa Sunnah, which it means that the lights for this logic so your logic you will be able to use it in the right way. You have to be having your reference or your source or your base is Al-Quran or Sunnah. Otherwise, logic is different. Like your understanding different than his understanding. This person's smarter than that person's. This person's things make sense to him, that person doesn't make sense to him. People are different. And if this door open, the religion will not be one religion. It's gonna be 1 million trillions religions. Everybody does what he think is right. But Sharia came with rules. And these rules, anyone look at it, he will see it will never contradict the logic. It always makes sense. It always makes sense for the persons. sometimes even if you couldn't find the reasons or the wisdom behind certain rules, you still cannot find reason for you to reject it. Yes, maybe there is. It doesn't seem to be bad, even if I couldn't see why it's very good. It's always like this when it comes to the Shariah's rules. Those people has sources. They adapt it or they take their informations or their knowledge from. The logic, beside the logic, the dreams. And I mean it. One of their main source was the dreams and what they see in their dreams. Also, the spiritual experience. It's one of their main source, these sects, or what they call it? Ecstasy. Yeah. Ecstasy. Which is the spiritual experience. What they feels. Their personal feelings. They consider this a source of Islam. To judge things right or not. Also, these people, one of their source is the human beings. They took some people as a source of knowledge, other than the Prophet ﷺ. And to justify this, they adopt the idea of infallibility. That they said, this person cannot be mistaken at all. Therefore, he is a source for us. We can take our knowledge from him. Like Sufism, they said, Al-Shaykh Mahfuz. The Shaykh is protected. Protected from what? From doing any mistake. Protected from what? From making any wrong. Shia said, Imams Ma'soom. Imams cannot do anything wrong. So he is the infallible. Also, some of even those people who are extremism with some of the fuqaha, the madhahib, the madhabiyin, some of them said, this kind of extremes, this is the reason for bid'ah to start. Like some of them said that Abu Hanifa, he cannot be mistaken at all. Ash-Shafi'i, he cannot be mistaken. Ahmad ibn Hanbal ever think that he did a mistake. Or this extremism, they said he is a person cannot be mistaken. I remember once I was giving a lecture in Rice University in Houston. And I talked about the Prophet ﷺ's way of praying. And I had an old man attending to my class. After that he told me about some issue that said, but we are in Abu Hanifa's madhab, we don't do what you said about this particular issue. I told him, but there is hadith very clear that the Prophet ﷺ said that. It's sunnah. He told me, so why it's not, why Abu Hanifa, he didn't say that. So I told him, maybe, I said, I have a question for you. Do you think Abu Hanifa rahimahullah knew all the ahadith? He said, no doubt. I said, what? He said, sure. All the ahadith he knew it. All the knowledge he knew it. Khalas, dead end. I can't argument. He really turned me off. I can't say anything. Khalas, dead end. This guy believed that Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he knew everything. If he knew everything, that's khalas, makes sense for him. He said, this is the way bid'ah start. Or this is one of the reasons the bid'ah come, adopted. That he believed in somebody, he knows everything. He cannot be mistaken. So whatever he did, I will follow this without thinking. One of the reasons also, one of the source was the narrations of Ahlul Kitab, Christians and Jews. They took their books and the Torah and the Bible and start learning from it and start adapting things from the Christianity or Judaism. Such as you heard in the early times, some people start to have houses where people enter these houses and will never get out. Worship until they die. Women or men. Where they got this from? This idea was existent in Christianity in that time. Also, they were exposed, some of them adopt some of the ideas which exist in other religions, like Buddhism. Like Sufis, this group of people, Sufis, they adopt a lot from the from the Buddhism. They saw, for example, how the Buddhism, they treat their souls, or how they are very spiritual people. Go to like yoga, stay in a place where there's nobody, in the desert, in the forests. They treat themselves hard. Some of them said, for example, he treat himself very hard. You see, in Sufism, this idea was very well known. They said, if you want to behave yourself, go to a dark room, lock it, and stay there for like a couple, 3-4 days. No lights, no food, no drinks. If you want to really to be very, go to the desert, stay in the desert with no one, or to the forest, or to the jungle. They said, this Shaykh, rahimahullah, inshallah, when we talk about Sufism, you will laugh a lot. Because it's really interesting. They said, this Shaykh, rahimahullah, he never had a shower for 40 years. You know what a Shaykh, it stinks. You can, what's that? And they praising him. Where they learn this from? They learn it from the Buddhism. And adopt this from India. They brought all these books to the Muslims. Also, you see their main source, these sects, they never go to the scholars. When they have doubts, they argue with each others. Or they go to the unknown scholars or the young student of knowledge, but they do not attend to the scholars. They do not attend to the circle of knowledge. So this is one of the wrong way of seeking knowledge. Wrong way of seeking knowledge. That they do not go back to the scholars. لا يرجعون إلى العلماء المحققين والأئمة. Otherwise, they will learn under the unknown people. Their sheikhs, unknown. Nobody knows who they are. And also, mainly, and this is one of the reasons for bid'ah, mainly their source in their books, in their talk, the books of history and literature, adab. Their main source in their books, when they seek their information, they go to the book of history. And as you know, the history book has no knowledge, has narrations, weak, fabricated, right, wrong, it's just collections. So they do not have a way of clarify the knowledge or purify the information. They go filtering the information. يقول شيخ الإسلام رحمه الله: ولهذا تجد المعتزلة والمرجئة والرافضة من أهل البدع يفسرون القرآن برأيهم ومعقولهم وما تأولوه من اللغة، ولا يعتمدون على أحاديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا الصحابة والتابعين وأئمة المسلمين، فلا يعتمدون على السنة ولا إجماع السلف وآثارهم، وتجدهم يعتمدون على كتب التفسير المأثورة والحديث وآثار السلف، إنما يعتمدون على كتب الأدب وكتب الكلام التي وضعها رؤساؤهم أو رؤوسهم، وهذه طريقة الملاحدة. المجلد 719. Ibn Taymiyyah said, you see the Mu'tazila, one of the sects, Murji'ah, Shi'ah, Rafidah, all different sects of Ahl al-Bid'ah, of the innovators, when they come to explain the Quran, to make interpretation for the Quran, they will use the book of history or the language. They will not go to the Prophet ﷺ's hadith or the books which it has the narrations of the Sahaba or the successor or the scholars. No. They will go to these books which has no hadith, no athar about the Prophet ﷺ companion from their own logic to explain the Quran or to talk about Sunnah. Also, so many of these sects, they said that they take their knowledge directly from Allah. You remember? Long time ago, Musaylam al-Kadhdhab claimed the prophecy. Then Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, he claimed that he's a prophet. He received this from God. And they are following their steps. You will see that some of them will said, my heart told me that my Lord said. They used to say, you, Ahl Sunnah, us. We used to say, Al-Bukhari said that we narrate the narrations. They said, no, we have shortcut. My heart, my Lord. There is no even prophet in the middle. You say, ala tul, directly. Also, as I told you, they believe in some infallible, that some of the sheikhs cannot be mistaken. And even though to the extreme that they will make their sheikhs, their imams, higher station than the Prophet ﷺ or all of the prophets. All the prophets. طيب. Also, they have a wrong, their source is not authentic. All these points under this category. Also, they always based their informations and their beliefs on fabricated hadith and weak narrations. Their knowledge not based on authentic hadiths. Even they don't know what's hadith sometimes, but most of the time if they use a hadith, they will use fabricated hadith. For example, some of the Sufis said that the Prophet ﷺ said that he was created from Allah, from Allah's light. So he is a light and Allah is a light, he's from Allah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala part of Muhammad, Muhammad part of Allah. They said this hadith, and this hadith fabricated. Or some of the Sufis, they said that there is secrets in Islam. Where you got this from? They said that there is hadith. Umar said, كنت كالزنجي بين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأبي بكر. That Umar claimed that he said, I was like Zinji, like the slave who just came from Africa to Arab country. He doesn't know the Arabic, he doesn't know anything, so he doesn't know anything, just like servant. He said, like this is my situation between Abu Bakr and Rasulullah when they talk about certain issues. They meant that the Prophet talked to Abu Bakr with codes, with secrets. Umar couldn't understand it. He said, therefore Umar wasn't able to take these secrets. Abu Bakr said these secrets to somebody else. And somebody, it's a secret, so you can't prove it's right or not. Who knows what this secret is? Then once somebody said, oh, I received these secrets. They're sheikhs. So they said there is secrets, and like asrar fi din. And this is one of the reasons these kind of narrations, weak narrations and fabricated ahadith, help these bid'ah to appear and to spread. Also, one of the reasons يقول يعني أهل العلم كثرة السؤال والاختلاف على الأنبياء وهي أيضا متعلقة بمنهج التلقي. يقول إمام ابن بطة العبكري, one of the reasons under this category is also they have a wrong way of dealing. Their source is not based on authentic source. When they deal with the scholars, when they deal with the ahadith, they don't accept the knowledge. They always argument. They always raise contradictions points whenever they want to listen or they would read the Quran and Sunnah. يقول ابن بطة العكبري, he is a great imam. اعلموا إخواني أني فكرت في السبب الذي أخرج أقواما من السنة والجماعة واضطرهم إلى البدعة والشناعة. My brothers, العبكري, الإمام ابن بطة said, my brothers, I thought a lot about the reasons that make people or let people leave the Sunnah and the Jama'ah and fall in bid'ah and evil things. Then I found the reason behind this is two reasons. فوجدت ذلك من وجهين. أحدهما البحث والتنقير وكثرة السؤال عما لا يعني ولا يضر العاقل جهله ولا ينفع المؤمن علمه. The first one, to be asking too much questions, going in too much details, digging in all the small details in argument, and try to not to learn as much as you want to just argument and raise point here and there, and digging in very details to the level you are no benefit out of it. No benefit out of it. And if you know it, it's not going to benefit you. If you don't know it, it doesn't going to harm you. And this became very obvious, and sometimes, especially in the second century, questions has no sense. Like this man who asked Ali about the darknesses in the moon. Or Sha'bi, somebody asked him once, what's the name of the Satan's wife? زوجة إبليس. قال ذلك عرس ما شهدته. He said, I wasn't invited to that wedding. I wasn't part of that wedding. So I don't know what's her name. طيب. So people start asking about things has no benefit out of it. This is always make bid'ah in the end. الثاني مجالسة من لا تؤمن فتنته وتفسد القلوب صحبته. The second reason, to campaign those people who campaign the innovators. It combine a company with innovators, or they attend to innovators classes or being with them. Those people, if you took them as friends, they will lead you to be mubtadi' like them. One also of the reasons, as I told you, they don't go to scholars. Al-Jahm ibn Safwan, one of the greatest innovator in the Muslims' history. He was in the 2nd century of Islam. We don't hear that he is in one time attend to a circle of knowledge or to seek hadith. ليست له رواية واحدة في كتب السنة. هو في زمن الرواية. اللالكائي said that كان الجهم على معبر ترمذ وكان رجلا كوفي الأصل فصيح اللسان لم يكن له علم ولا مجالسة لأهل العلم. الجهم Safwan was a eloquent person, but he never attended to the scholar circle. He never learned. He the one who started most of these innovations. So knowledge is protection. Ignorance, as you will see, one of the reasons. But here, one of the problem in the methodology of seeking knowledge or to have the right source of Islam, that you do not ask scholars. You do not ask scholars. Or people will study under unknown people. Like in Al-Hasan al-Basri time, Al-Hasan al-Basri, great imam. There is people who used to go to Wasil ibn Ata. He is innovators. And will leave Al-Hasan al-Basri. And Wasil ibn Ata used to say, إن الحسن لا يحسن إلا ما عند سروال امرأته. وأما نحن فلنا العلوم العقليات. واصل بن عطاء زي ما يقولون اليوم بتعبير آخر هذول مشايخ حيض ونفاس. واصل بن عطاء, he's the head of the Mu'tazila. In that time, they used to ask him, he said Al-Hasan al-Basri, the one whose speech similar to the Prophet's speech. From his beautiful speech, rahimahullah radiyallahu anh. Great imam. Wasil ibn Ata used to say, who's Al-Hasan al-Basri? He only knows these issues related to menstruations and blood and all these. This is what he is good of. But the logic, the knowledge, that's for us. Today you hear this statement a lot. Some people said, oh, these sheikhs, they only talk about halal, haram, salat, hayd, nifas. This is what they are good. But big issues, politics, this for us, they cannot do this. It's the same thing, logic repeats itself. History repeats itself. طيب. Also, Ibn Mas'ud rahimahullah radiyallahu anhu said, لا يزال الناس بخير ما أخذوا العلم من أكابرهم فإذا أخذوه عن أصاغرهم وشرارهم هلكوا. People will only be good if they seek knowledge from the scholars, well-known scholars. People who will known as sheikhs. They learn this knowledge from right source. But if the people start going to people who are not or do not have knowledge, solid knowledge, those people are in a great danger. And this is very dangerous in America. Because, communities in America, for instance, anybody here can be imam. Anybody here can be an Islamic center. Anybody here can open Islamic center. Anybody here became now sheikhs and muftis. Give fatwas. And that's a very dangerous. And people start learning. I remember once I saw something very weird in one masjid. I'm very interested in authoring a book about the weird things I have seen it in America. Because I had a lot. I have seen a lot. I saw a person give khutbatul Jumu'ah. But when the salat came, he finished the khutbah, he asked somebody else to lead the prayer. This is my first time to see this happen. So I asked why he didn't pray. They told me because he doesn't know how to pray. He doesn't know how to read Quran. But if you didn't know how to read Quran, how can you give khutbah? No, khutbah is something else. The people listening, learning. You see, this is the dangerous. If somebody start teaching and people are there asking, it's a very dangerous. That you see, mashallah, we have a scholar today visiting the town. Scholars, everybody. That's happened a lot, if you agree with me or not. I see this a lot. MashaAllah, we have scholars coming for 3 days to this town. Scholar, everybody go and sit to him. This is dangerous. This is not an easy thing. Not everyone you can go and attend to his halqa to study under him. Especially in these days when the fitan is spread widely among the ummah. So this one of the sources, this bid'ah start in the old days. One of the bid'ah also, they said that they start talking in religion or going to people who talk in religion and they are not aware of the Arabic language. من الأعاجم الذين لا يحسنون العربية. And they start talking on behalf of Islam. Like, I don't know, I have seen also in America, somebody wrote tafsir for the Quran and he doesn't know how to speak Arabic. He doesn't know how to read Arabic. And he wrote tafsir the Quran. How? Somebody became a head of Sharia committee and he doesn't speak Arabic. So, mufti. How? If he is Arab person, his tongue is Arabic, and he did not study Arabic, we don't take from him. And if he's Arab person, not Arab people today knows the Arabic language. No, he has to study Arabic to be in a position of fatwa, of imam, of a scholar. One of their mistakes also in dealing their source of knowledge, that they follow the scholar's mistakes. If the scholar did a mistake, it doesn't mean you follow him. See, for example, some good people did a mistakes. You cannot follow their mistakes, such as somebody tell you, Ya akhi, if the rulers is not a good Muslim, we should go fight him. But the Prophet ﷺ said, no, if he's a Muslim, you cannot fight him, even though if he is making sins. No. You don't know what Ibn Zubair did. Or Balash ibn Zubair. You don't know what Sa'id ibn Jubair said. This one of the Tabi'in, he fought the Khalifa. This is a mistake. You don't follow his mistake. The hadith is very clear in this matter. Ibn al-Mubarak said, sometimes there is a man, he's a very well-known scholar, but he has some mistakes. We take him as a role model, but we don't follow his mistakes. قال لا تتبع هفواته وأخطاؤه. This is related to the source. Another reason for this bid'ah, another big title, الخلل في المنهج في منهج الاستدلال. They might said, okay, we will follow the Quran and the Sunnah and the narrations which is related to Sahaba radiallahu anhu, the Athar. But there is a big other mistakes. It's called al-khalal fi manhaj al-istidlal. They have wrong way of dealing with these sources. A wrong way of dealing with the sources. Even if they got the correct sources, they have a wrong way of dealing with these correct sources. Of wrong way of understanding these sources. Or using these sources. It's another big mistake. For instance, they said, we will use analogy. Analogy is part of our religion. But how they deal with analogy, they will make analogy in things which is unseen. Like for instance, they will say, Allah said in the Quran about himself that he has hand. They haven't seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They use analogy. Hand, we have hand, that means his hand like our hand. See? Wrong way of dealing with the Quran. Then what's the result? Two extremes. Somebody said his hand like our hand. Somebody said he has no hand. This analogy came up with two different extremes, and both of them wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his hand is belong to him. Nobody knows how it looks like. It's belong to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah only knows how it looks like. Umar radiallahu anh said, this using their logic again to understand Al-Quran and Sunnah. Based on only their logic. Umar said, stay away from those people who using their own logic and their own opinions. Only. They are the enemy of Sunnah. إنهم أعداء السنن. They couldn't memorize the hadith and the Sunnah. And they couldn't understand it. So they became enemy to it. And if they've been asked because they couldn't memorize the Sunnah, they will answer based on their opinions. Stay away from them. قال إياكم وأصحاب الرأي فإنهم أعداء السنن أعيتهم السنن أن يحفظوها وتفلتت منهم أن يعوها وسئلوا فقالوا في الدين برأيهم. You remember Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take the knowledge from the earth. When the scholars die, there is no more knowledge will remain in the earth. Then he said in the end of the hadith sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the people will choose some of the ignorant people to be their leaders. They will ask them, then they will answer them with their opinion. This narration al-Bukhari. They will answer them with their opinion. Not based on Quran and Sunnah, opinions. And this is one of the ways to mislead people. The second, or this point also, another wrong way of dealing with the Quran and Sunnah, they made false interpretation. Ta'wil. They twist the meaning. And this is the way of the Christian and Jewish. They twist the meaning of the Torah and the Bible to meet their desires. Also they dealt with the Quran and Sunnah like this. They said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he said he created Adam with his hand, he said no, it means he created Adam with his power. They twist the meaning. And this is the wrong way of dealing with Al-Quran. You cannot make false interpretation based on your desires. 3. When they use Al-Quran or Sunnah, they will use the verses or the ahadith which is not clear. It's called al-mutashabih. They use al-mutashabih. Not clear. The meaning might confuse you. They love to bring this ayat and this ahadith. And when they want to make us prove a point, they will only use this. they will not go to the clear ayah. For instance, they said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He is with you. That means He is with us, that means He's everywhere. طيب. Allah said in so many ayat that He is above the throne, above the heavens. Why you don't bring this ayat? Because when He said He is with you, it doesn't mean He is in contact with you or attached to you. Now I said, in Arabic language, you say, سِرْتُ وَالْقَمَرِ وَمَعَنَا الْقَمَرِ. You can say, I traveled and the moon was with me. Doesn't mean the moon is in your car next to you. Like you see him with you going. So it doesn't mean at all they are attached. So Allah with us, it means that He is with us in a sense. Yani He didn't create us and He lifted us and He went to other creations. No, with us, yani watching us, seeing us. So why you go to this ayah, the word with, and you leave the word above? Very clear cut. You see, this is the way of Ahlul Bid'ah. When they deal with the Quran, they don't go to the ayat or verses which is clear. They go to the mutashabih. Also, they always look for narrations which it makes problems. Or has special occasions. Like for said, the Khawarij, or some people said, Muslims are allowed to get as group and go and fight their leaders if they are Muslims. Based on what Ibn Zubayr fought the Bani Umayyah. Do you know what happened in Ibn Zubayr time? Ibn Zubayr was the Khalifa. In fact, Ibn Zubayr, he was the Khalifa. Ibn Zubayr, he was the Khalifa in Mecca, Medina, in Yemen, the Arab Peninsula, in Iraq, in Egypt, in Sham, in Palestine. Even in Damascus, there is some people give him bay'ah. Only small area of Damascus remain with the Umayyads. And some part of Iraq, some cities in Iraq. So you have to, why you choose this? The Prophet ﷺ been asked, كذا, Ya Rasulullah, if these rulers or princes who are gonna rule us, and they are transgressors, they are dhalimeen, they are following other than your way, other than your sunnah, if we see them, Ya Rasulullah, should we fight them with our swords? He said, no, if they're praying. There is nothing more clear than this. No, if they are still praying. So how you leave this ahadith to this incident? Somebody bring up, said, oh, Ibn Umar, he been seen once wiping the Prophet ﷺ's mimbar after the dua, and he put it in his face. So let's go make barakah on the Prophet ﷺ grave. Subhanallah. Why you take this nation and leave the ahadith which is clear and the ayat and the طيب. Also, this is a very bad logic or analogy. Why? Because that member the Prophet ﷺ touched. But the grave the Prophet ﷺ today, who built it is Turkish people and people like us. Maybe religious or not religious, Allah knows. So you're not touching something the Prophet ﷺ touched. See, it is false interpretations and make bad analogy. Also, one of their wrong way of dealing with the Quran or Sunnah, they take one verse and they will leave the other verses. One narrations, but they don't look to the whole narrations. Like somebody said, okay, An-Nabi ﷺ said about the one who commit major sin, he's in hellfire. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, there is no one will make intercession in the day of judgment. No intercession. Khalas, he canceled intercession. In the other ayahs, there is other verses Allah said, nobody will make intercessions without his permission. So this ayah explained the other ayah. So this is the wrong way of dealing with Quran Sunnah, and the other way, which is I mentioned, to collect all the evidence, this is the way of Ahlul Sunnah. This is one of the reasons they came up with these bid'ah, because look to one hadith or one ayah. The third reasons for these bid'ah to appear, argument. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, as reported by Ibn Majah, and Abi Umamah radiyallahu anhu said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he want to mislead people after they've been guided, if he want a nations to be misled after they've been guided, he will let them have argument. The argument will spread among them. In this case, they will destroy themselves. أعوذ بالله. ما ضل قوم بعد هدى كانوا عليه إلا أوتوا الجدل. And Allah, the Prophet ﷺ recite this ayah, بل هم قوم خصمون. They are the people who argue a lot, the kuffar. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم said, argument in Quran كفر. المراء في القرآن كفر كما عند الحاكم في المستدرك. Fourth reasons for this bid'ah to appear, ignorance. الجهل. First kind of ignorance, they don't know sunnah. You notice that the people of bid'ah, the innovators and the head of these sects, they don't know what is sunnah is. For instance, Ibn Taymiyyah said, if you read the book which is written by Al-Ghazali and Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni, and they are great scholars in their groups, you will realize that they never read Sahih al-Bukhari. And Al-Ghazali is Hujjatul Islam. And Abu al-Ma'ali is the Imam of the Haramain. And they didn't know Sahih al-Bukhari. They didn't read Sahih al-Bukhari even. They don't know Sunnah. And they are very ignorant in Sunnah. And also they didn't know the narrations of the Sahaba. They are the most, they don't know, they never read what the Sahaba said in this subject. This is one of the biggest issue, one of the biggest reasons those people misleaded. They never study the Sunnah, they never study the narrations of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Shaykh al-Islam said very amazing statements. There is no time to go over it. But he said that he was amazed. He was surprised, and I'm surprised like him. I think you should all be surprised. He said when you read in a books like Al-Shihristani, Al-Milal al-Nihal, those people who wrote about the history of sects, or those people who, like Al-Shihristani, he belonged to a group called Al-Asha'ira, or Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni من الأشاعرة, Abu Ya'la ibn al-Zaghoni, Abu al-Husayn al-Basri, Al-Qadi Abu Bakr al-Baqillani وغيره. Those people, when you read, they are big names in these sects. When you read their books, they talk. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's talk. There is 9 different opinions about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's talk. They said that. The Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks, He doesn't talk, what His talk is. He said, they give you 9 different opinions about some group, maybe, يعني there are very few people who exist in the middle of, يعني in the far east or in the far west. He will bring their statement, show how much he knows. Then Ibn Taymiyyah said, and the end, he will not mention the opinion of the Sahaba and the opinion of the Tabi'een and the truth opinion in this matter. He doesn't know it. He know about a statement been said by some persons in the middle of nowhere, and he didn't know what Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and the Sahaba said about these issues. This is the habit or the nature of the people of Ahlul Bid'ah, who always quote this and this person, this and this, but he doesn't know. You can see they don't quote what the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, the successors, have said. And he said in so many times, I got them because I found they said this such and such opinion cannot be accepted. Then I proved to them that this is the opinion of their sheikhs. Like this, we are Maliki. Then I told them, this is exactly what Malik said. How come you are going against it? And he said, so many times I found them saying, whoever said that is kafir. And they claim they are Shafi'i or Hanafi. Then I told them, this is the statement of your sheikh, Abu Hanifa and Malik. And so many times he said, when I had dialogue with them, they said, whoever said so and so, he is kafir. Then I bring him a proof that the Prophet ﷺ said that. Ignorant, they don't know. They don't know. I remember once, personally, experience, with one also who belonged to one of these sects. We had an argument about wala' bara'. So he said you cannot have wala', loyalty to somebody, to love somebody and to hate him at the same times. I said, no, why? I love whatever good he has, I hate whatever bad he has. Makes sense? He said, no, impossible. I said, why? Because the person cannot be good and bad at the same time. I said, that doesn't make sense, but I told him, for the sake of argument, I told him, not argument, the bad meaning, because he was my teacher actually. Anyway, so teacher by force, not by choice. He was in the college. Then we reached to that point, and I told him, what do you think? The person can have iman and kufr in the same time. He said, A'udhu billah. Whoever said that is, I said, stop. Don't say it. Wallahi, I remember I was so mad at was in the classroom. I said, stop, Sheikh. Don't say it. Because he was gonna say something bad. قال, من يقول أن الإنسان يجتمع فيه إيمان وكفر هذا إنسان? Said, stop. I said, Allah said that. Then wallahi, brother, he shut down. He كده. I said, Allah said in Surah Yusuf, وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. Allah said, most of them, they believe in Allah, but they associate other with Allah. They are mushrikeen in the same times. Allah said that those people had two, iman and shirk. Then he left the classroom. I remember. He closed his suitcase and he said, I'm not going to teach. And he left. Because those people are ignorant of the Quran and Sunnah. And they only learn something from the sheikhs or from the books. That's it. They never try to learn about the Sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Also, they are ignorant in Arabic language. Ignorant of the person who doesn't know Arabic language, he will make a lot of bid'ah. No doubt. Because he doesn't understand the Quran and Sunnah. If he put himself in a position to make interpretation, to make fatawa, he cannot if he doesn't know the language of the Quran. Otherwise, he is going to make bid'ah. He's going to start making from his own opinions. Such as this brother in Canada, recently, I know him, very good brother. Then all of a sudden, I heard that he making a statement. He said, I don't believe in Sunnah, I don't believe in predestinies anymore. Why? He said, you know what, I read Sahih al-Bukhari from A to Z 2 times. And I couldn't find answers for my questions. And this brother, he doesn't speak Arabic. I said, which, you read what? He said, I read the translations. I said, subhanAllah, you read the translations, do you think, if you read Sahih al-Bukhari in Arabic and understand Arabic, it's enough to make you a knowledgeable person. He started making doubts and he's big fitna. Now in Canada, may Allah give him hidayah. Anyway, so al-ujmah, not understanding Arabic, cause a lot of problems. Let's give you an example. Happened with one of the scholars. One of the Khawarij said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never break his promise. Because breaking promise is something good or bad? Bad. And Allah doesn't do anything bad. He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised that whoever commits such and such sin, he will go to hellfire. So that means if you make a sin, you have to go to hellfire and cannot ever get away from it. Otherwise Allah break his promises. He raised this point in front of one of the sheikhs. قال من العجمة أتيت. قال أليس الله بمخلف إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد ولا يخلف وعده. فقال من العجمة أتيت إن إخلاف الوعيد بإخلاف على خلاف إخلاف الوعد. فإن إخلاف الوعد مذموم وإخلاف الوعيد ليس بمذموم. He said, because of your ignorance of Arabic language, you said that. Why? Because in Arabic language, promise, there is two types of promise. Promise of punishment and promise of rewarding. If I promised to punish my kids, I said, if you did this, I'm gonna punish you. Then he did it. Then he came and he said, oh, Dad, I'm sorry. He said, okay, this is the last time. It's not something bad. Okay, I will forgive you this time. Something good to show your mercy. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. He said that you're going to be punished for this sin, but He might forgive you from His mercy. This doesn't mean in any how something wrong. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did something bad. In fact, it's a good thing. Because this is out of His mercy. But the bad, if you promise something to reward, then you didn't give it. Like if I said, I promise you, if you do this job, I'll give you $5. You didn't, you came. No, inshallah, next time. Oh, no. See, everybody knows it's bad. He said, because you're ignorant of language, you said breaking promise is always bad. That's not true. There is two types of breaking promise in Arabic language. If you break your promise of something you promise to reward, or you promise to punish. See, understanding the Arabic language and the meaning of it help to save yourself from involving these innovations, and not understanding this kind of issues led those people to have their groups or this firqa such as Khawarij. Also, one of the point related to the ignorance, when the ignorance people start to be leadership for people, or people who are muta'alimin, they have no knowledge but they act as if they have knowledge, or big muftis, or scholars. Those are very dangerous when they lead any communities or any group of people, because basically this is the way to have bid'ah. Fifth reasons for this bid'ah to appear or to be spread out, following the steps of the Jewish and Christians and the other nations. When you look to a group like Shia, you go to the roots, it goes to the Abdullah ibn Saba, he's a Jewish. When you go to Al-Jahmiyyah, big group. When you go to the root, it goes all the way to a man, his name, Al-Jambu Safwan, he took it from a man, his name, Al-Ja'd ibn Dirham. Al-Ja'd ibn Dirham, he took it from a man, his name, Talut. Talut took it from Lubayd ibn al-A'sam. Who's Lubayd ibn al-A'sam? He's the Jewish magician who made sihr to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the root. If you go to another, the people who deny the predestiny of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go to them. Ghaylan al-Dimishq. He took it up from Ma'bad al-Juhani. Ma'bad al-Juhani, he took it from a guy, his name, Sawsan al-Baqqal. He is a Christian man. Or they took this idea from a Christian's priest. When you go to Sufism, you will see this idea of that a person free of mistakes, taken from the Catholics, taking from the idea of, for example, of being alone in worship, don't touch, no marriage, nothing, taken from Christianity, Rahbaniyah. When you take the Sufism, the idea of that somebody received revelation from Allah, Christianity again, that they claim that the companions of Isa alayhi salam, they received revelation, they wrote the Bible after that. You know, these ideas has pretty much related to other religion. Buddhists also, they took their spiritual experience or spiritual purifications to purify their souls. It came all adapted from the Buddhists. Also you see that the philosophers, the Greek logic has a lot to do with a lot of these sects, and to give an ideas appear adapted from these philosophers. Also like the Duruz, Nusayriya, these groups, Duruz and Nusayriya, names of groups, they had an idea of, I don't know what they call it in English, تناسخ الأرواح, reincarnation. Like they had this idea that this person, like a Duruz for example, and the Nusayriyin, they believe there is no day of judgment. They don't believe in day of judgment. What they said if you are a wrongdoer or a sinner or a kafir, if you die, your soul go back to another person. But it will never go back to a person who's Durzi. No, you can be a Jewish or Christian or Sunni. They said that. Anyway, also one of the things was a big reason for these sects to appear, the translations. They translate a lot of the Greek logics, or these books written by the philosophers, the Roman philosophers. It's been translated to Arabic. And the first one who started this, Khalifa, or Amir, his name Khalid, the son of Yazid, the son of Muawiyah, radiallahu anhu, Muawiyah. And this is 136. But in the 2nd century of Islam, there is a lot of translators. But I want you to listen carefully to these names. For those who translate these books, Georges ibn Israel, al-Tabib, and Yohanna again, Foster ibn Luke, Thabit ibn Qurra. Most of the translators are Christians who translate these books to the Muslims. They are Arab Christians. They start translating from Romans or from Greek, Latin to the Romans books, the Latin or the Greek to the Arabic, and it's been adopted. And maybe the only good things, those Mongolians, the Tatar, when they attacked the Muslims, the only good thing they did, that they destroyed all these books, most of it. But it was too late because it's already spread out. طيب. In the 4th century, they became more and more. And al-Baramika, they were exist in the time of Harun al-Rashid, before Harun al-Rashid. They translate the books of the Hunud, the Indian, and the Virgin, the people who used the Zaradishts, the people who used to worship fires. They translate their book to Arabic, and this is affect a lot of groups also. Al-Ma'mun was very famous as a supporter of this idea, and he spent a lot of money that he built a big place for translator, like a public library. It's called Darul Hikmah, the wisdom, or the place of wisdom, or the library of wisdom. 6 reasons for these innovators or innovations to spread and start, or for people to adopt or to say such things, following the desires and being with the innovators. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said 3 things destroyed people. The first one, he said sallallahu alayhi wasallam, hawa muttaba', to follow your desire, destroyed the people. And as you heard Ibn Battah al-Ubkuri, he said, following your desires and being with the people of who are the people of desires, it will take you away from the way of Sunnah. And sometimes following the desires come in another way, that it's a nature of people, they love to follow their desires. There's therefore so many of these sects, they came to tell people, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. And the extremist group, the Batiniyya, those people said there is a hidden meaning for every ayah. Just to tell you something, those people in some day, they reached to the extent they take over so many Muslims countries. Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, Iraq, Bahrain. It's been under their control for such time. To the extent this group of people, they attacked Mecca. They attacked Mecca. And this was in the 7th century, around 7th century. And they killed the Hujjaj. They throw in the well of Zamzam more than 500 bodies, until the bodies comes out. And they said months, the water of Zamzam, the taste of it was not good because of these bloods. And they took off the black stone, to the east side of the Arabian Peninsula in that time. And the guy who took it, his name, he was killing the people and saying, Ana billahi wa billahi ana. I am by Allah and Allah by me. Or beside me and I'm beside him. He said, Allah created the creation and I kill his creation. And he executed more than 5,000 persons in the Hajj, in the Kaaba in that day. And they took the black stone to their village in the eastern side of Peninsula, Arabian Peninsula, for 21 years. Mecca doesn't have the black stone. القرامطة, دولة القرامطة. عبيد الله الأعرج, his name. 21 years. This Hajar, the black stone, remained on their village. And do you know what? Muslim did not take it back by force. After argument, and these people spread widely and they were very strong. As I told you, one of the reasons for these innovations to spread that they follow the desires and they open wide gate for the desires. They came to tell people you can do whatever you want. If you do that small amount of things, then whatever you want to do, just do it. And people loved that. One of the most extremist group, this group that I just mentioned, this group, Al-Qaramita, they opened the gate of Muharramat. They said you can do whatever you want from haram if you believe in certain names and you believe in them and you accepted them to be your savior or something, and to believe in the Imam in that time, and that's it. Everything is halal. Everything is halal. To the extent one of them said, خذي الدف يا هذه واضربي وغني هزارك ثم اطربي. He's saying to this girl, take the drums and start singing and be happy. تولى نبي بني هاشم وجاء نبي بني يعرب. The time of the prophet, which is from Quraysh, finished. He means, who is the prophet from Quraysh? Muhammad. And this is the time of the prophet from a tribe, it's called Ya'rub, which is their leaders. أحل البنات مع الأمهات ومن فضله زاد حل الصبي. He said this new prophet, he allowed the persons to sleep with his daughters and with his mother, and from his generosity said boys also. ومن فضله زاد حل الصبي. لكل نبي مضى شرعة وهذه شرعة هذا النبي. Why not? Every prophet has sharia, and this is the sharia of this new prophet. فقد حط عنا فروض الصلاة وحط الصيام ولم يتعب. He said, this prophet said, you didn't need to pray, you didn't need to fast. He's very gentle. He said, you didn't need to get tired at all. إذا الناس صلوا فلا تنهضي وإن صوموا فكلي واشربي. If you see people start praying, don't worry, just sit down, take it easy. If they start fasting, eat and drink. ولا تصنعي ولا تضعي نفسك أو ولا تمنعي نفسك المعذبين من الأقربين مع الأجنبي. He said, don't stop yourself from being with these bachelors who wants you. Mu'azzabin, this bachelor who wants you. If they are relatives or they are not relatives, doesn't matter. فمن أين حللت للأبعدين وصرت محرمة للأبي. How come you are not allowed? How you are allowed to marry or to sleep or to marry somebody who is not related to you, and your own father, he cannot have you. أليس الغراس لمن أسسه وسقاه في الزمن المجدب. He said, when you have a tree and you start the tree, you put the seed in the field, and this seed grow up, became a tree. The one who grows this tree, he's the one who should take the fruits. And this is the father. He's the one who put these seeds, and you became after that. So he's the one who have more rights to have you. وَمَا الْخَمْرُ إِلَّا كَمَاءِ السَّمَاءِ حَلَالٌ فَقُدِّسْتَ مِن مَذْهَبِي. والله فعميت من مذهبي. He said, فَمَا الْخَمْرُ إِلَّا كَمَاءِ السَّمَاءِ. Khamr, alcoholic, there's no difference between khamr, alcohol, and water. They are all from Allah. He said all of them halal, pure. Then he said, فَقُدِّسْتَ مِن مَذْهَبِي. What is such good religion, or good religion. See, this kind of statement, the sick people will love to have this kind of life. When you see the Duruz, one of the groups, they said, you will not be accountable for anything you do until you reach the age of 40. If you're 39 now, take your chance. Do whatever you want. The angel will not write anything until you reach 40 years. These ideas can be accepted from people, and they can bring any proof for that, and that's it. People love the desires. So they use this to spread or to justify themselves, their desire, following their desires, to say it's halal. And these people, this group who said this poet, has terrible things in their beliefs. And subhanAllah, how it became so popular in certain times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only knows how this happened. Also, in another hand, one of the reasons, number 8, another extreme, which is that the people will be running behind this worldly life. They will love the dunya. And for the sake of the dunya, this may be part of that, very much related to the desires. For the sake of the dunya, they will do anything to get the dunya. This can be part. We don't put it 8. Just keep it as part of the one before it. Therefore, some of these opinions came up to gather positions in the eyes of the rulers. They said there's a madhab in the second generation, second century, saying that we believe that the rulers has the right to do anything. He never does mistakes. Whatever the ruler did, it is by the name of God. To the extent they said once, Al-Hajjaj said, who is better, your messengers or your vice president, if you are president? Your vice president better or your messenger better? So for sure your vice president. And they said the Khalifa is like he represents Allah in the earth. So he's better than his messenger. A'udhu billah. And some of the scholars said, when he said that, Sa'id ibn Jubayr said he is kafir, therefore he fought him. Because he believed he is kafir, and he made takfir to him. Anyway, so running behind the dunya, let the people start their bid'ah. Like what they did with Uthman radiallahu anh, because of the money. Because of the money, they start all these fitan. Number 8, now we put it. Number 8, the fitan. Fitna. Whenever there is fitna, fitna means when there is fight. When there's big fitna, where there is time people cannot differentiate between the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. When this happened, the bid'ah start, the innovators, the sects appear. Like what happened in the Sahaba times, when the fitna between the Sahaba, the fight. You have the Shi'ah, you have the Khawarij, you have Qadariyah. So many groups or sects start. Because in the time of fitna, the Muslim should step back and stay away. And not to adopt any ideas until he stick to what he knows. And not to involve in these fitan. He will lead the ulama to deal with it. Number 9, extremism. One of the reasons for those people to make these bid'ah or to start these bid'ah or these sects to appear. You remember when Musaylam al-Kadhdhab, the one who claimed prophecy, Musaylam al-Kadhdhab, these liars who claimed prophecy in the Prophet ﷺ time, they asked one of his followers. It was very clear that he's a liar. One of the things he used to ask what Muhammad does to prove his prophecy. They said, for example, Muhammad, when he make wudu and they put the remainder of his wudu in a well, the water will increase. So okay, I will do the same. He will do it, then he will put it in a well full of water, the water will vanish. He will, for example, he do the things, the opposite happen. So it was clear that he's a liar. But one of his followers said, how come you follow him and you're smart? قال لكذاب ربيعة خير من صادق مضر. Liar from our tribe better than prophet from their tribes. See the extremism for their tribes or for their nationalism. This is one of the reasons for so many people also to start this bid'ah, Extremism, love to someone like to Ali radiallahu anh, or to the Ahl al-Bayt, the Prophet's family. Many people make them gods. Loving Ali so much to the extent this, he doesn't mean if you love him so much, he has to be the Khalifa before Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman. To insult others, that's what start so many bid'ah. Also Nawasib, they love Muawiyah so much, so they start cursing Ali. This is another extreme. Sufism, how they dealt with their sheikhs, or those people who are extremism and following the madahib. They said Imam cannot be mistaken. And this is come from the Christian and Jewish who take their rabbis and their monks and their priests or are like gods. Whatever they said, it has to be followed. And some of the extreme way of dealing with the religion is to be very strict, very, very strict in the religion, and to make everything complicated and hard. The religion, the nature of it, it's ease. This religion, the Prophet ﷺ said, my religion is ease, yusr. It's not complicated. Some people like to make things hard, difficult, complicated, not simple. This complicated make bid'ah. This complicated raise a lot of bid'ah and make a lot of these sects. Yani, for example, one time, Ali radiallahu anh, he saw a man. See how people were very extreme in that Kufa especially. He told them, are you from Khurasan? He said, no. He said, you're from Faris. Faris is Iran, Khurasan farther north. He said, okay, you're from Khurasan? It seems like from that area. He said, no. He said, where are you from? He said, I'm Earth. I belong to Earth. I'm from the Earth. We know coming from the moon. He just make it difficult. قال أنت من خراسان؟ قال لا. قال أنت من فارس؟ قال لا. قال من أين أنت؟ قال أنا من الأرض. فقال علي رضي الله عنه يعني هذا هو التشدد والتنطع في الدين. And like a person, he asked him, كم سنك? سنك, how many, يعني, how old are you? But in Arabic language, sin, it means teeth. And it means ears, old. How years, how old are you? So that person, he know that when he said this word, how old are you? He said, كم سنك? قال 32. 32. قال من أنت? He started making complicated. I came from water. And he started making things, answers. Then he said, okay, what do you want me to say? He said, he said, so how many years, how old are you? He said, I don't know. He said, why? He said, because Allah only knows my age. He said, okay, how many sin you have? How many years you have? He said, 32. His teeth. He keep asking. They said, okay, what do you want me to say? He said, you have to ask me how many years gone from my age. You see, very complex. قال الذهبي رحمه الله قال فتعسا لهذا المتنطع. يعني قال يجب أن تقول كم مضى من عمرك. Anyway, so make things complicated. It's one of the reasons for this bid'ah to appear. The 10th, the last one I will mention today, the 10th, that there is a lot of people have envy toward Islam. The enemy of Islam. They have a big role also for supporting these sects and helping it. In Egypt, there is a report when the British used to occupy Egypt.
Please proceed to next CD.